Okay, so let's talk about the 3 tips that our buyers are taking advantage of to get the best possible deal in this market. And we'll finish the video with some advice for sellers on how to make sure you're positioning yourself correctly in this new market that we're in. So my name is Stubbs. I'm a team leader and co-founder here at the SB Luxury Group. So let's dive right into those 3 tips. Tip number 1 is making sure that you understand the seller's motivation. One thing that I learned early on in my career is that not every single seller is just looking to sell a house for as much money as possible. It was actually shocking to me how many different people had other alternative motives as to what was most important to them. Some people just might want a non-discreet sale. You would not believe how many people we talk to that want to sell their property, but they don't want all their neighbors talking, they don't want a sign in the yard, and they might just want to sell the property with as little headache as possible. So tip number 1 is really understanding that seller's motivation so that you're able to craft your offer to be as strong as possible towards what the seller wants while giving you as much benefit as possible. Now let's go into tip number 2, using your terms to get you a better deal. Now here is something that we're using a lot right now. Everybody knows interest rates have changed over the last 6 months, and something that our buyers are doing is doing what's called an interest rate buy down. Now this basically means you're paying money towards your loan to get a lower interest rate. For example, if we were buying a house and we wanted to ask for a $10,000 discount, well, let's say we got a $10,000 credit towards the buyer's closing costs and lowered down the rate as opposed to a $10,000 price reduction, your payment would be dramatically lower with the buy down on the interest rate rather than just saving $10,000 off the purchase price. There are a lot of different ways we can craft an offer to save the buyer more money, but this is one of the number 1 methods that we're taking advantage of right now to get the buyer the best deal possible. Okay, so tip number 3, and this is out of the box, so we're getting a little bit creative here, but there are a lot more homes on the market. As we've seen market updates, inventory is increasing, but that doesn't mean good inventory is sitting on the market. Homes that look good and are priced right are selling still relatively quickly, while the homes that don't look so great, that are overpriced and undermarketed, are staying on the market longer. Now, knowing that, you can go after those properties who have been on the market a little bit longer that might need some love, and you might have some serious leverage on negotiating a better deal on those houses. So if you're struggling getting a house or finding something in that sweet spot of what you're looking for, this is something I haven't done in the last 2 years, but we're expanding our client searches to include higher price points that they aren't actually looking in or can't qualify for, knowing that those houses that have been sitting longer on the market in those price points are much more likely to drop their price and be able to get a deal that the buyer might not have otherwise seen. So that's tip number 3, is open up your search and make sure that you're understanding every possibility that's on the market. Okay, so those are my top 3 tips right now. Understand the motivation, negotiate terms like crazy, and open up your search so you know all the opportunities, even if it might be a little bit outside. So let's talk about sellers. Now, even if you are a buyer, listen up, because this is something you want to understand to hear what the sellers are really thinking and going through. So a couple of advice if you're thinking about putting your house on the market right now is that you have to be on the market at the right price. We're talking with our clients, and depending on price point and location, if you are looking at underpricing or pricing at market, homes are still selling relatively quickly, but this house has to look good and be priced right in order for that to happen. Now, we're still talking to sellers that are looking at that last comp that sold for a huge record-breaking sale in the neighborhood. We might need to pare that back and look at what has been the average of what's been selling, because buyers are looking at properties and they have 4 or 5 times more options than they did at the beginning of the year. Pricing is crucial for sellers right now, and you have to make sure that you have the marketing on the house as well as the price. So once you've figured out what your pricing is, now this should come before pricing, but price is always that conversation that sellers have to have. But before that, to get to the price, is what needs to be done to that home. Can you invest $10,000 or $15,000 into that house with maybe fresh carpet and paint in order to get that value way up to where you might spend $10,000 or $15,000, but the house might sell for $20,000 or $30,000 more because the perception of the buyer is that it is an easy move-in ready house. This is a conversation we haven't had for the last 2 years, but for the sellers that have houses, like most people, that have been lived in, or maybe you had a tenant in that property, doing those little repairs and investing money into your asset of your home to sell that for more money is something that a lot of sellers are looking into right now. To whereas we were having this conversation last year or the year before, you probably didn't need to do those repairs in order to sell that for the most money possible. So buyers and sellers, if you're out there looking in the market and you're trying to figure out how to take advantage of it, give us a call if you have any questions on your specific situation. As always, you have our information. Feel free to reach out, and thanks for watching.